Americans are having sex less often. New study shows while the topic of sex is less taboo than it was a generation ago, that doesn't necessarily mean people are having more of it. According to a new study published in the journal Archives of Sexual Behavior Today, Americans who were married or living together had sex 16 fewer times per year in 2010 to 2014 compared to 2000 to 2004. The survey also found that overall, Americans had sex about 9 fewer times per year in 2010 to 2014 compared to 1995 to 1999. The study is based on data collected from the General Social Survey, a nationally representative sample of more than 26,000 American adults asked about their sexual behavior since 1989. These data show a major reversal from previous decades in terms of marriage and sex, said Jean M. Twenge, the study's lead author and professor of psychology at San Diego State University. In the 1990s, married people had sex more times per year than never married people, but by the mid-2000s that reversed, with the never married having more sex. According to Twenge, author of the book, Generation Me, a critical factor appears to be birth cohort, with later-born generations having sex less often than those born earlier in the 20th century. In an earlier study, Twenge and co-authors Ryan Sherman at Florida Atlantic University and Brooke Wells at the Center for Human Sexuality Studies at Widener University, found that millennials had fewer sexual partners than their Generation X predecessors. Despite their reputation for hooking up, millennials and the generation after them, known as IGEN or Generation Z, are actually having sex less often than their parents and grandparents did when they were young, said Twenge. That's partially because fewer iGeners and millennials have steady partners. Age also appears to play a significant role. People in their 20s have sex more than 80 times per year, declining to 60 times per year by age 45, and 20 times per year by age 65. Each year after the peak of sexual frequency at 25, sexual frequency declines 3.2%. Older and married people are having sex less often, especially after 2000, Twenge said. In a previous paper, we found that the happiness of adults over age 30 declined between 2000 and 2014. With less sex and less happiness, it's no wonder that American adults seem deeply dissatisfied these days. Blame might be placed on the busy lives of more working parents, but the research didn't bear that out, said Twenge. Instead, those who worked more hours actually had sex more often, as well. Atmosphere of Midsize Planet revealed by Hubble, Spitzer 2 NASA space telescopes have teamed up to identify, for the first time, the detailed chemical fingerprint of a planet between the sizes of Earth and Neptune. No planets like this can be found in our own solar system, but they are common around other stars. The planet, Gliese 3470b, also known as GJ 3470b, may be a cross between Earth and Neptune, with a large rocky core buried under a deep, crushing hydrogen and helium atmosphere. Weighing in at 12.6 Earth masses, the planet is more massive than Earth but less massive than Neptune, which is more than 17 Earth masses. Many similar worlds have been discovered by NASA's Kepler Space Observatory, whose mission ended in 2018. In fact, 80% of the planets in our galaxy may fall into this mass range. However, astronomers have never been able to understand the chemical nature of such a planet until now, researchers say. By inventorying the contents of GJ 3470b's atmosphere, astronomers are able to uncover clues about the planet's nature and origin. This is a big discovery from the planet formation perspective. The planet orbits very close to the star and is far less massive than Jupiter, 318 times Earth's mass, but has managed to accrete the primordial hydrogen-helium atmosphere that is largely unpolluted by heavier elements, said Bjorn Bennick of the University of Montreal in Canada. We don't have anything like this in the solar system, and that's what makes it striking. Astronomers enlisted the combined multi-wavelength capabilities NASA's Hubble and Spitzer space telescopes to do a first-of-a-kind study of GJ 3470b's atmosphere. This was accomplished by measuring the absorption of starlight as the planet passed in front of its star transit and the loss of reflected light from the planet as it passed behind the star eclipse. All told, the space telescopes observed 12 transits and 20 eclipses. The science of analyzing chemical fingerprints based on light is called spectroscopy. For the first time we have a spectroscopic signature of such a world, said Bennick. But he is at a loss for classification. Should it be called a super-Earth, or sub-Neptune? Or perhaps something else? Fortuitously, the atmosphere of GJ 3470b turned out to be mostly clear, with only thin hazes, enabling the scientists to probe deep into the atmosphere. We expected an atmosphere strongly enriched in heavier elements like oxygen and carbon, which are forming abundant water vapor and methane gas, similar to what we see on Neptune, said Bennick. Instead, we found an atmosphere that is so poor in heavy elements that its composition resembles the hydrogen-helium-rich composition of the Sun. Other exoplanets, called hot Jupiters, are thought to form far from their stars and over time migrate much closer. But this planet seems to have formed just where it is today, said Bennick. The most plausible explanation, according to Bennick, is that GJ 3470b was born precariously close to its red dwarf star, which is about half the mass of our Sun. He hypothesizes that essentially it started out as a dry rock and rapidly accreted hydrogen from a primordial disk of gas when its star was very young. The disk is called a protoplanetary disk. We're seeing an object that was able to accrete hydrogen from the protoplanetary disk but didn't run away to become a hot Jupiter, said Bennick. This is an intriguing regime. One explanation is that the disk dissipated before the planet could bulk up further. The planet got stuck being a sub-Neptune, said Bennick. NASA's upcoming James Webb Space Telescope will be able to probe even deeper into GJ 3470b's atmosphere, thanks to Webb's unprecedented sensitivity in the infrared. The new results have already spawned great interest from American and Canadian teams developing the instruments on Webb. They will observe the transits and eclipses of GJ 3470b at light wavelengths where the atmospheric hazes become increasingly transparent. The Hubble Space Telescope is a project of international cooperation between NASA and ESA, European Space Agency. NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center in Greenbelt, Maryland, manages the telescope. The Space Telescope Science Institute (STSCI) in Baltimore, Maryland, conducts Hubble science operations. STSCI is operated for NASA by the Association of Universities for Research in Astronomy in Washington, D.C. The Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California, manages the Spitzer Space Telescope mission for NASA's Science Mission Directorate in Washington. Science operations are conducted at the Spitzer Science Center at Caltech in Pasadena. Space operations are based at Lockheed Martin Space Systems in Littleton, Colorado. Data are archived at the Infrared Science Archive housed at IPAC at Caltech. Caltech manages JPL for NASA.